God damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. And the truth. No, set you free.
Cool, man. And I'll just jump into it if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, hold on a second. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. First of all, I want to apologize for rescheduling other people podcasts, and people got things going on in their lives, so we had to reschedule. But I will be talking with Monterey and Martinez as soon as, I think, in 2 weeks actually now, and next week another amazing artist. So for this week, I want y'all to welcome a really funny guy, really funny comedian. I was first made aware of him from the Kill Tony show. He became a regular. And it's been fun watching him develop and grow. Every week he comes up with, he's got to come up with a brand new minute every week on the Kill Tony show. I don't want to get too much into it. We can talk about that, during the podcast. But anyways, he's hilarious. I really love his comedy, and I'm excited to talk to him. Everyone, please welcome Hans Kim.
Thank you.
So, man, this is awesome. It's been fun watching you, man, on the Kill Tony show. And for people that don't, know much about it, but how is it for you each week as a comedian to? I'm sure it's something you look forward to, but I mean, coming up with a brand new minute every week is kind of a challenge,
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just relying on a bank of material that I have. So
yeah,
it's good for now. But yeah, coming up with a new minute, because like the comics that you see that get up there from the bucket, they have all their material to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been doing it 3 months. So I already used all my best stuff.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering if that would be the case a little bit there.
So now I'm diving into the bucket and seeing what hello?
Yeah. I think you froze for a second.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
But yeah, so I mean, it's a little more difficult, but I have fun with it, and there's like less pressure, and I get to do my jokes that I might not have done right away, so I get to figure out what actually works and what I thought would work, and the difference between the two. So I get to just do all my material. Like I don't have to just show my best face. I can just be completely me and do whatever material I want to do. So I'm loving it.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard writing a minute,
Yeah.
I mean, so I've only been doing stand-up for a couple of years now, and Kill Tony was one of the things that inspired me to just because it was so much fun watching the people get up there and then get, everyone just busting each other's balls and everything. But it just seemed like such a challenge. And I even signed up a few different times for the show, never got picked. But what was cool is it helped me think about, like when I'm writing my stand-up, it helped me think about like, how many laughs per minute. Cause I never thought about that before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, man, and so that it's been something that's been kind of a good practice for me, because I try to write. I've got like my material that I've been working on, for a couple of years, and I feel pretty good about it. But and I try to mix it up every week. But then I try to write like, new 2-3 minutes if I can, and try it and just see what happens. But it's one of those things where you don't know until you get up there, and
yeah,
sometimes,
we're stuck in our own heads.
Yeah.
And if you're just thinking to yourself, like, you gotta think that what you think is interesting.
Yeah.
Or else you'll be bored in your own head and like hate yourself. So I think there's a lot of trickery that goes on when you're just thinking by yourself. You're like, oh, that was interesting. But when you bring it up to the surface for light, you realize that it's not, and that it was just some bullshit you were telling yourself. So it's like, how much of that is necessary and how much of that is things you could get rid of, and you just find out what is actually interesting about you instead of what you think is interesting, so that you
Yeah.
can survive.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling sometimes, man. Like, oh, that didn't land right.
Yeah.
Or at all. Um,
Yeah.
so what's your story, man? So how did you get, how long you been doing stand up, and how did you get started into stand up?
Well, I was in Georgia Tech doing mechanical engineering from 18 to 22, just doing the normal thing. And then I graduated, not a lot of job prospects. I didn't get really good grades. And also, I didn't really try that hard and was really kind of disillusioned by working. And I didn't really want to do that,
Yeah.
sit in a cubicle all day and come home to a wife that hates me and kids that don't know me.
Yeah.
So I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was very inspirational. He was a man. Not that I was looking for, a man in the sexual sense, but just like a role model. Yeah, and he was just like living a life that was enviable and also an alternative to the suburban misery that we all see all around us. So I was like, oh, that's a role model I could model myself after. So I started doing comedy right after I got fired from my job. I did 6 months internship, and then I did 6 months at a startup company in Chattanooga, and then I got fired from there, and then I went back to my parents, and then I started doing comedy. Lived with my parents for 5 years. They went to Korea, and I had like this apartment to myself, and I was just going out doing comedy every night. Ever since I started, I've been hitting it hard. I've been doing as many mics as possible from day one without really taking a break. So it's just been a continuous series of mics from 8 years ago till now. But I did Seattle for 5 years. I got fifth place in the Seattle International Comedy Competition.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was a pretty fun time for me. It was like when I was first starting, I was 3 years in. And then 5 years after Seattle, I moved to New York, did that for 3 years, got nowhere. I got rejected by a bunch of places in New York. And then the pandemic hit while I was on a road trip down to Miami. So then I went back to Seattle to ride out the pandemic, then went down to Los Angeles in like October, when I was like, oh, you people aren't, this is never going to end. I might as well just get back into it. So
Yeah.
then I went to LA just to test it out. And then in November, I left because cases were getting bad, and I just camped out in the woods for about 4 months. And then in March, I came over here to Austin, and I've been here 7 months just doing comedy and having the time of my life. This is the most fun I've ever had doing comedy. The people here are amazing. Everyone is so happy to be out
Yeah.
and partying and doing cocaine, so much cocaine. Um,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and then I got the regular spot on Kill Tony, and I opened up for Joe Rogan yesterday. So my life's been amazing.
Yeah, man. I want to get into that in a little bit, but so this is awesome, man. This is why, one reason why I wanted to have you on is because so I'm an illustrator, I'm an artist. That's what I mainly do. I started this podcast years ago, about three and a half years ago, I think. And my main goal at first was, I wanted to talk with an artist every single week. Doesn't matter what kind of art form. It's just anyone in the arts. And it's been something that's been really cool to be able to do, to let people meet new people or people that they already know. And eventually I started getting comedians on. And it was kind of an interesting thing, because I've always been a fan of comedy. It's always been something I've wanted to do. But like, I find that the art of comedy is something that people don't really think about very often. They don't really quite understand. It's not, you don't just, get up there and tell jokes. Like, there's so much more involved. Like there's a mental game involved. Like you said before, like you like, I think part of what I've experienced anyways is being in your own head and knowing how to like deal with that. Like just like, there's even just, it's not only just the writing process, and I don't even mean literally. Some people don't even write stuff down, they just think about it. But it's you have your idea, and then how do you deliver it? How do you pull it off? And there's the timing and the, whatever. And then it comes down to the aesthetics. Like, what's your style? What's your voice? And that's something I think that people, just like an illustrator, takes a while sometimes to find your voice in the art, you know?
Yeah.
So for you, I'm curious, like, you know, what, you know, you're obviously out there and you're very passionate and you're putting everything into it. What do you think your biggest influence is? And also just like, as far as your material and writing, like how do you come up with your material? As far as like, do you think of things right away and just start writing it down, or do you just like think on it all day long and then just get up and talk about it?
I guess I think about things that have been bothering me or that I've been thinking about, and then I write it down and figure out what I'm actually thinking about it and working through it and logically figuring out what my argument is to the thing that I'm thinking about. And then if I can make that funny, or if it's already funny, then I bring that to stage. But I would rather talk about things that I'm actually interested in talking about.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I'm already thinking about. So like politics is something that I'm thinking about, or like the way that people are, or like the illogical things that happen, or like things that I see as things that could be improved in society. And then like my own self-deprecating type of humor.
Yeah.
So it's just like what I'm actually passionate about. I don't want to just come up with 17 jokes about bananas for the Tonight Show. I actually want to talk, because like if you're up on stage talking about bananas, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be faking it, you're going to be fake smiling, and that's way more difficult to do in terms of stamina than if you're actually talking about something you want to talk about. And when you're up on stage in front of a bunch of people with all their attention, do you talk about bullshit, or do you actually talk about what you want to say? Because if you're actually saying what you want to say, you'll have so much more energy and you'll be more passionate. And people are bullshit sensors. They can tell if you're passionate, and they'll be more engaged if you're more passionate. But like I love banana jokes and like, you know, stupid jokes like that as a palate cleanser. But if I didn't have those chocolate chips in the chocolate chip cookie, like it wouldn't be worth it. Like I wouldn't want to just tell exclusively banana jokes. I'd want to sneak in a couple, you know, propaganda pieces in there.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. Yeah. I think it's like, that's the kind of, I think comedy that's the best anyways, is when it's for real. Like you're really dealing with this shit and you're talking about it, and people think it's funny because they can relate to it. I mean, that's pretty much the way I think about it anyways. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun though. You know, I enjoy seeing what you do each week, but also the funny thing about it, like if people don't know, on the Kill Tony show, they, you know, after you do a minute, they end up roasting you for a little bit and having you up there. And that's one of the things that's great about you, is you're able to go with it, you know, and it's funny. But you've been a little bit lucky with the ladies lately. I know you got a girlfriend now.
Yeah.
But how strange. I mean, is that something that it was like looking forward to every single week? Or is it one of those things? I was just curious, is like, oh, this is happening again. Like, like, I mean,
Well,
it just, yeah. How'd that go? How'd that whole thing start out anyways? Was it just a
I
joke
think
at
just
first?
because I look like the way I do and sound the way I do, it's just funny to like give like you know, like a like Eeyore like a fucking birthday party and see how he reacts to it.
Yeah. Tony just likes to have fun with that.
Yeah.
But it is, I think that's part of it. That's what's interesting about that show, is that I think that awkwardness, like part of, so I was talking with a comic friend the other night, and he was like, you like the Kill Tony thing? Like you were gonna sign up? And I was like, well, I think it's a for a comic, I think that it, especially if you're new at it, or younger at it, it forces you to into an uncomfortableness, I think, a little bit, which I think is really good for a comic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's where a lot of comedy is.
Yeah, and the one thing I enjoy about what Tony does is he'll have people out there who are, you know, maybe it's the first or second time, and I don't even know if they quite get what he's doing, but he is roasting them and shit, but he's pulling material out of them. Like he's getting them to be real and to answer things in a real way, and they don't even realize that they're saying some really funny shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should do that. So that's one thing that I find interesting about that is it really does show you that being real and just being, you know, honest. I think honesty is a important part of comedy, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's funny
go
when I
ahead.
see like comics on stage who are just trying to hide who they are for 30 minutes, for 5 minutes on stage. It's like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Why do you get on stage if you're just gonna hide who you are? Like, it's much better to get on stage and show everyone who you really are. Like, oh, look, this is my worst insecurities. And if you're just okay with the worst thing about yourself, then I think it opens up a lot of doors, because that's where we shine, is like through our worst trials and tribulations.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. Totally, man. So you said that basically you're hitting the mics hard like every single night. What one thing that I find, you know, challenging for myself is that you know, you go to the same clubs over and over and over again, and you're working like you got a new bit. Here's how you do this. Well, like let's say you're going to a club every week, and you know, you're working on like a new 5 minutes or whatever, or like playing with bits and pieces from one other and putting them together. But sometimes like I'm like, oh man, you know, I'm starting to see some of the same people over and over again, and they know exactly what I'm going to say now, you know, but I want a tightness. I want to get, you know, so you keep going over it, keep going over it. And then, you know, you start noticing other comics. Oh, this is the same material, same material, same material. Like, how do you deal with like, that's one of the things that I was talking about before, about being in your own head. Like, you know, because you have to, every time you get on stage, you want to be confident with your material. But when you're thinking about the fact that, oh, I've said this, I'm trying to get it tighter and better, and I know they've all seen this before. Do you ever deal with that, or do you just like, whatever, I don't care?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be aware of the audience, and if they've heard it before, maybe switch it up or try to find new tags. But I don't think it really matters. I think like people enjoy hearing the same joke twice, especially if it's live.
Yeah.
And they like to see how other people react, and they might like the joke and they're like, oh, I want to see how they react. And when other people laugh, they'll laugh because they like seeing the reaction of other people. But
Yeah.
if it's a good joke, I don't think it's really a problem to say it, especially if they're comics. They know what the deal is. But obviously, if it's like a really tired open mic and you're doing old material or you're doing your A stuff, the comics aren't going to give you any leeway. So
Yeah.
that's when you just start riffing or like making fun of people, or yeah, and like whatever you have to do to make the crowd laugh. But
Yeah.
with like a emphasis on material, because that's what's gonna get you on like Conan or whatever, Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, I do think that struggle is, again, like that it forces you to be a little bit more creative, because you end up, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna see if I can spice this up a little bit more, or be a little bit more maybe exaggerated or animated when I say this or whatever. But so the other thing I was going to ask you about the clubs, and just in Austin area, for example, how many different places are you going to? Do you do like a few nights a week, or a few night places in one night, or is it just one place?
Yeah, so I get up to 5 places if I'm lucky, maybe 6 a
Oh,
night.
that's awesome.
Anywhere that will have me, bars, coffee shops, theaters, everywhere. Like if they have a open mic, I'm there. But yeah, Lucky Duck, Creek in the Cave, Vulcan, Velveeta Room is like a small comedy club. Fallout Theater is a comedy club here. Like Kick Butt Coffee is a coffee shop. Shakespeare's used to have mics. I think they still do. Yeah, like everywhere that they'll have me, and every shitty room. I love it.
Yeah.
I love just trying to make them laugh, because if it's a shitty room, it's like so easy to not respect them and to make fun of them, or to be like, I don't give a shit. You think I care if you don't laugh? This is, yeah, there's always something to say. And also it's just like, I love talking to people, and they don't realize it. They think, oh, we're such a shitty room, but they're actually just people there who are listening to this and in like a weird state of mind, because it's a shitty mic. So it's like they're more vulnerable. So it's like, I enjoy every chance I get. Like even if it's a shitty room, it's just a different
Yeah.
statistic that I can use to my advantage.
Yeah. I feel the same way, man. It's actually kind of fun sometimes when it's not going well.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind the groans, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's isn't it interesting sometimes when like you go to a, you know, it'll just be one of those nights where everything like nothing no comic is doing well. It's just like everything
Yeah.
is just like crickets the whole time.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it ends up becoming funny, especially if there's like 20, 30 comics or more. By the end of it, it starts becoming hilarious. Like
Yeah.
this is terrible, this is uncomfortable, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm the same way, man. Like I just, like for me, it's every time I get to do it, it's I have so much fun. Like it's like I don't you know, it's for me, I get away from the family for a little bit, and I get to
Uh-huh.
go out. They're all like at home and sleeping, and I get to go out and have some drinks and make people laugh. I mean, it's awesome,
Yeah.
you
You're
know.
more adult part of the brain instead of being
Yeah.
like censored and
Yeah, I don't
Teletubbies.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like I don't give a fuck. I just say whatever I want. Don't really care, you know. And there's like a freedom to it, you know. It's very
Yeah.
therapeutic. That's one thing I love about it. So, dude, you got to open up for Tony and Joe, right? Was like both of them?
Yes.
So let's get into that, man, because that's epic, man. Where was that?
At the Vulcan
Oh, okay.
and sometimes at the Creek. But yeah, it's a great experience.
So what was it like? I mean, was it just you and then those two, or is it like a bunch more comics? And
It's
like what?
usually it's usually me and William Montgomery or David Lucas and then Tony and then Joe. And then when I'm opening for Tony Hinchcliffe, it's me and William and David and then Tony. But yeah, those shows are amazing. I mean, there's no one else in the world that is better to open up for than those two people. So
Yeah.
it's the pinnacle, and there's no like, oh, I wish I was somewhere else, or I wish that I was doing something else. It's just like you're there in the moment, because where else would you rather be? You have no excuses. You can't just be like, oh, this isn't a real comedy crowd. That's as real as it gets. That's the
Oh
pinnacle,
yeah.
the cream of the crop of audiences. They're the best audiences to have. And so it just forces me to be like, what do I actually want to say to these people? What kind of emotions do I want to trigger? What kind of emotions do I want them to see me going through? And then it just sharpens up everything else. Open mics are easier. I have more confidence. I can be more funny everywhere else. And those crowds are electric. They're there for a good time, and they're loud. It's amazing. And getting to talk to Joe and Tony, just like basking and like soaking in everything that they're saying, is like it sets me up for the rest of the night just to be like a nicer, kinder person.
Yeah.
It's a great experience in every facet so far.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And it's funny too, because like I've heard on, you know, people, you know, they always assume that because of who Tony is on his show, they think he's a total dick. You know, I've met him a couple times, and he's seems to be one of the nicest people in the world. And the thing that I like about him is that how much he cares about comics, like helping, you know, other comics and stuff. So it's got to be pretty like encouraging. Um, what's some things that you think that you've learned from like opening for them or working with them, just about yourself
Just
or
like
your comedy?
how they're human. Like they're not trying to be superhuman. They're not, you know, they're not doing anything that's like impossible. They're amazing at it, but it's like just a steady progression
Yep.
to get to where they are. And it's so effortless for them. And just like the process, and to see the end result of the process is very inspirational. And it's hope giving. It makes you like not lose inspiration or give up, because you're like, this is at the end of the rainbow if I can just stick to it long enough. So it's just cool to see someone who's like further and way further progressed than I am, and just to just to like be like, oh, this is the roadmap, this is what it looks like
Yeah.
and what it's like to be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's Tony's latest special thing. Well, I don't know if you consider it a special, but what he released on YouTube
Yeah,
is probably one of the funniest and one of my favorite comedy specials in a long time.
yeah,
Like it's so raw and honest. And every time I have friends come over, I'm like, you haven't seen this? I've watched it like 5-6 times now, I think. But I just love just how honest and raw that was. Like it couldn't have been more perfect than the people that ended up leaving, you know.
yeah,
It's just like, oh, like you couldn't have planned it better than that. It's so good, man.
yeah.
So what I wanted to ask you about something. Oh, so everyone that, you know, everyone always asks like me when they don't know much about what it's like doing comedy stuff, but my family members and different people, they always ask like, you know, aren't you afraid? I mean, that's crazy. It's, you know, it's got to take balls to get up there and do that. And it does to an extent, but I mean, I'm nervous. Like every single time I don't know if you can relate to this, but every single time I do stand up, it's like just before I go up, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want, like, I feel like, like sometimes my stomach starts feeling nervous, but as soon as I get up there, I'm like a different person. I'm so excited. And I just have the time of my life. And as soon as I'm done, I'm like, oh, I want to do it again right away.
Yeah.
You know, it's a weird thing. Like even when I'm driving to the place, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? What, you know?
Yeah.
But it's also like something that's hard to explain about how much fun it is. But and it's definitely addicting. But I wanted to ask you, just if you don't mind sharing, because I think it'd be fun to hear some funny stories. If you're up for sharing some funny stories, man.
Yeah.
But what's some of the worst times or worst experiences that you had doing stand up? Because you got all this awesome stuff going on right now. That's really cool. So Joe Rogan, okay, very cool. But what's the worst, man?
Yeah.
What's the thing where you're like, this almost made me quit, or this almost, you know, I had second thoughts, like something like that.
Well, that's never happened, but
Oh, there you go.
I was
good.
at the Grizzly Pear and I went up on stage. This group of lesbians were heckling the whole time, and the host wasn't doing anything to stop it. He was encouraging it. He's like, oh, this is a show, this is what you get, these are audience members, let's let them do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
So I got up on stage and I was like strutting around saying, I'm the alpha male, you guys have to shut up now. And then they kept heckling, and then I said something incendiary about lesbians, and then the head lesbian threw her drink at me.
The leader
And
of the clan.
the big dyke, the deepest dyke. But yeah, she threw a drink at me. I was like, they were heckling, and I was like, I don't approve of your lifestyle. I guess that's a bad line in their culture. But yeah,
That's what's funny is I think you froze.
fool.
Or you, oh.
Yeah.
That's what's funny is like you say stuff like that, like people take it so seriously, like how could he? It's a joke, you know.
Yeah. Like, I love lesbians. I hate these particular ones, so I'm gonna make fun of all lesbians to make fun of them. But yeah, and then she walked out, and then she came back, and then she threw another drink at me, and I just stood there and let it bounce off me. And she walked right by the stage, and I like pretended like I made like a move at her. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people would have like gotten really mad, but I was just like, you made it physical, whereas it was just vocal. So like, and then I just did the rest of my set, and then afterwards the host was like, man, that was your fault, or like he was sort of like, I don't know, like trying to blame me for not policing his own room. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was very sad. Like, my voice was shaking. I did like 10 minutes after that, and I just powered through my jokes, and afterwards I had to take my sweater off and get all the Diet Coke out of it or whatever. And I was on the subway going to another mic. And yeah, I mean, that was like pretty rough. Like these people just come to a comedy show and
Was that in
they
New York?
just heckle everyone. Yeah.
Because you said that New York was a little rough. Like, what was rough about New York? Just like hard to get spots.
New York is like they there's so many talented people there. They don't really care about finding new talent. They're just like, oh, if you're funny enough, I guess we'll see you eventually. And then they make no work to actively farm people or help them or groom them.
Mm.
So it's just like a place that's just tired of talent. They're like, okay, we have talent. Now what do we do? How do we make money off of this? So I think they're more interested in that part than the actual talent and the art of it. But I mean, it works for some people. I just don't think that it's great for most people. The best thing about it is the other people and like getting to hang out with other comedians and do open mics with some of the best open mic comedians in the world who probably shouldn't be doing open mics. But yeah, I don't enjoy the hierarchy and the social ladder climbing that you have to do there. I think it's just as corrupt as LA, if not worse.
Mm. That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I've never done it in New York, but I've been to a few different, the one thing I liked about New York was it seemed like there's a comedy show happening everywhere. Like you can kind of just pop in places and there's like, oh, there's a comedy show here in this bar that's literally 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 people that can fit in there, but there's just someone doing stand up. So it's kind of a fun thing, but I can definitely, like it seems a little bit, like the Cellar. It seems like an intimidating place,
Yeah.
as far as, that's like the best of the best, but yeah, that's interesting. How long ago was that? Was that like when you were first getting started?
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've moved quite a bit. You're in you live in your van, right? Is that your van you're in now?
Yeah.
Seems like, okay, man, you gotta can you podcast in your van? You got your yeah.
That's the front seat.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
The Comedy Store is like the best of the best too, but they don't have that exclusionary attitude. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just New York right now.
Yeah, it could be New York like for forever. I mean, it seems like it's just kind of like the attitude a little bit. I've man, it was so cool. Like just before everything happened, I think it was just before the pandemic. I was in Pasadena for some art work stuff I had to do, and Jeremiah Watkins invited me to go hang out at the Ice House. So I got to go to the Ice House, watch him and Red Band. I can't remember the other comic, but had a really great time. And then he invited me to come to Kill Tony. So I went to the Kill Tony show in like on Sunset or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And the thing that was so cool for me, it was like my brother growing up, he's just obsessed with basketball and sports and everything else. And I remember the first time he got to go see a real professional basketball game. He was so excited. He got a migraine, he couldn't believe like everything was so amazing. And he still talks about it to this day, but that's what it felt like for me when I went to the Comedy Store for the first time. It's like, oh, this is like legendary. And like, but the thing that was interesting is how many comics that I respect and look up to just hanging out like real regular people. Cause you don't think that they would be, I guess from an outsider I'm from Chicago, I wouldn't assume that, but that's one thing that was really cool and refreshing. And afterwards, Jeremiah, what's that room upstairs? Is it the belly room? Is it the belly room? He was like, hey, I'm going to work out some stuff. You want to come check that out? And I was like, oh, cool. So I went up there and it was pretty awesome to be able to see him. And I think it was Jamar Neighbors and someone else. But it was just amazing to see like comics that I think of as seasoned comics, just working out new shit. And it was so much more intimate and like, I don't know, it was a really cool experience. I was not expecting it to be so open, like, oh, wow, people they're just cool and hang out and like, It was interesting.
Yeah.
But it also made me feel jealous because there's not really anything like that in Chicago, like that kind of there's a lot of comedy clubs.
Yeah.
There's nothing that feels kind of like that, that kind of environment, but
Yeah.
it's happening though. Chicago's getting a lot bigger with, there's a lot more things happening with comedy now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna ask you? I was gonna ask you something. It was really profound. So what does it look like for like, what do you, I know that you said that you're gonna keep going on this, and I mean, obviously you're doing really well and things are going really well, but what's your ultimate goal with what you want to do with your comedy? Like, are you also into like writing or things like that for maybe possibility for shows or whatever?
Yeah. I'm interested in doing sketches and doing podcasts and doing comedy and whatever avenue I can to have my ideas out there. But yeah, I love stand-up comedy. I think it's a really cool art form and the pinnacle of a lot of different I think it's like the best way to transport an idea and make it funny. But yeah, I would like to just become really great at stand up and headline and go from comedy clubs to theaters to arenas like Joe Rogan has done. But besides that, maybe have like a show like Chappelle's Show was back when it came out, just like impactful and important and like really funny. And yeah, I would love to have an avenue for all my ideas, like sketch or long form. Maybe I could write like an actual drama or something. But yeah, I'm not trying to limit myself in any way. But like those things require capital and like the existing infrastructure to smile upon you. So I'm just like doing interviews. I'd like to do pranks and sketches. Those you don't need a lot of money for that. You can do that independently. So yeah, I'm just looking to do stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. And I think that what you're doing is inspiring. Is just the fact that you basically quit what you were doing because you love this so much, and you live in your van, gives you a little bit of a freedom, to be able to just travel around and go wherever you want.
Yeah, economically.
I'm assuming that's what what the idea is. But it's awesome to see how hard you're working at it, and just the passion, man. It's infectious. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
So you're let's see, how old are you, by the way?
32.
32. Okay. Wow, so young. So you're basically living this what I find interesting and attractive about this is like you mentioned something earlier about the suburb life, and like you're getting away from that whole thing, and you've got like this almost like free artist life where you're just free and traveling. And I thought it was hilarious because I literally had been living in Chicago in the grit of the city for 26 years. And I just finally moved out to the suburbs and I love it. Cause I can go into the city anytime I want, but it's like, I don't hear any gunshots anymore, which is amazing. And I have a yard, so there's a different freedom there, but it's just kind of interesting. But what I love though about what you're doing is that kind of free spirited artist thing where, you're just a dude that's living in your van and you're hitting as many mics as possible. And it's just on your brain, comedy. So how does that work when it comes to having a relationship, a girlfriend? And I'm just because it's coming from a guy who's, I've been married twice. I've got 4 daughters. I have a career, and the comedy thing is something I'm trying to do, and I'm loving it, but I don't have that kind of freedom that you have, but I've got the reverse. So what's it like for you? Like, can you really have a relationship and do this? Like, how does that work? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different types of women out there who want different things from their life, and some of them want to live in a van, and not get murdered, hopefully.
Yeah.
But like I guess that's like how do I live like a normal life while doing comedy? And I mean, the good thing is that the alternative to this is so dire and morose and depressing that like it's like I'm doing better than average just by waking up whenever the fuck I want to wake up. So I mean, I feel like it's better for me than if I was working some cubicle job. But yeah, I mean,
For your
I
mental
feel
health,
like
you mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
like I don't think it's good to like do something 40 hours a week that you don't really care about or
yeah, for
it's not
sure.
really benefiting you.
Yeah,
I think that's really bad. But I guess like a girlfriend is like, I mean, like before I started comedy, it's not like girls were lining up to fucking engineer. It's like I think they're just I don't know, like I don't really respect the people that women decide to fuck. So I don't really I don't really
oh,
try to change myself for that. I just don't like I'd rather just like try to be successful doing whatever I do and then get women because that's seems to be the consensus is that they just go for whoever can give them healthcare and is like attractive or
yeah. But
something.
what I mean though is like, I mean, I guess what I was asking, and I was probably confusing because my brain is going all over the place right now with different things. But what I mean is like you are going out, like you're doing like 5, 6 mics a night. You're really kicking it. You're going for it, right?
Yeah.
How does a girlfriend react to it? Because she's gonna want to doesn't she want to have like a date night or well, you got to do your thing, man. That's your job. That's what you're doing. Like, how
Well,
does that
luckily
work? Is what I mean.
I haven't had a girlfriend in a while, but like fun. Like you're at a bar. I'm constantly out, around people who want to be having fun and are relaxing. So it's like I think that's a really fun lifestyle as opposed to just like being on a couch watching Netflix,
Yeah.
conserving your energy for the next day so you can go to work. Like if I had a girlfriend, we could just like go to the open mics together and drink together if they want, smoke weed together. um but yeah, I mean, I don't see it getting in the way of girls. I feel like I get more girls than I would have because I'm always out at bars talking to people, meeting people. So I mean, I guess I haven't had a real long-term relationship, and the couple that I have had, they've never minded going to bars and hanging out.
Yeah.
It's like we're always on a date. So
Yeah. No, I was just curious, just because it's like I mean, like it's always interesting, I think, when a person is pursuing a creative career or whatever you want to call it. And if the person that you're with doesn't quite get that, like, like I was in punk bands for years, toured the country, put all this kind of records and stuff. And my first wife she couldn't get it. She didn't like that I'm gone all the time. I'm touring, I'm on the road, I'm playing shows like that. But that's what I'm doing. That's my life. And same thing as an illustrator. It was really difficult for her to, so you're just going to be drawing all the time, and painting all the time.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's what I do, and
Yeah,
then,
I mean, I guess it helps if she has a passion too.
exactly. But
She isn't just looking to cuddle all day.
yeah, definitely helps. No, some people I just don't think they get it. You know what I mean? So I was just curious,
I
just
mean,
because, it's like, you're doing really great, and you got your focus,
uh-huh.
and so I was just curious, how that part of it was going,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I guess I'm just disregarding females trying to acquire currency right now.
trying to pin you down, like, hey, my bed is on wheels. All right. You can't pin me down.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess people just want comfort and just to relax, and they just want to find someone to glom onto so they can like sleep all day. But I guess there's more to life than just like avoiding trauma and discomfort and like
yeah.
actually making something of your life instead of just like trying to have a relaxing peaceful time all the time. It's like there's got to be a yin and yang. You got to do some work.
Yeah.
and then you get to relax, and then like you can't just all be just like, just staying home all day.
Yeah, I agree. Now you're starting to get a little bit more. It's gonna happen even more. Even that you're opening up for Tony and for Joe and everything. Um, People are starting to recognize you a lot more. I'm sure, especially around Austin. They know that you're in your van. Do you have to like paint your van a different color every week? I mean, how are you gonna like have? Because you're gonna have to have some kind of privacy. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, most of the time it's pretty good. It's not like I park in
But
downtown areas.
people are like, that's Hans. It's Hans like knocking on your like, I'm trying to get some
Yeah.
sleep.
I don't know if everyone knows my van, but I park it in my friend's house, so it's like
Oh, okay.
in the suburbs,
Oh, that's good.
and then I drive in.
You don't have like your face plastered on the side of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of your face, before we get going here, man, I want to show you. I had some fans did some fan art of you, so I wanted to share that with you. I think you get a kick out of it. So let me know if you see this.
Okay.
So these are artists from all over the world. So let me know if you see this.
That's from when I had facial hair. I like Japanese buck teeth.
This is Ray Shipman.
That's really
did
good.
this.
Thank you so much.
I'll send these to you too if you want,
Thank
just
you.
whatever you want.
Wow. Oh no.
This is by Mario Magnetti.
I love how they get my teeth right in all of these.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know, is that a spider?
Represents my face or something.
Yeah.
Oh, on the side.
Yeah, there's it looks like a spider or something. I think it's like hanging down from your ear. Now this one's interesting, very
Abstract.
like yeah, it's really but it still somehow captures the posture and everything, pose.
Yeah.
WTF. This one is by Dominic Zeilinger. Oh,
I like
the
it.
last one was Pablo Salas. I forgot to say his name.
My chin's very big. It's very true. I have a big chin.
This one's pretty. This is by Jacques Lemonnier from France.
Wow, these are really good.
Yeah,
It's my profile picture for a while. But yeah, I like how they play with the face, exaggerating certain parts of it to make art.
yeah. Most of these are caricature. Sometimes people do like realistic portraits, but a lot of them are doing caricature stuff, which I personally think actually can be more true.
Right.
If done well.
Yeah.
Chuck Bennis. For some reason, it says the file is corrupted, so you can't see it. I will try to fix it later and add it here.
Okay.
So, but I'll email them all to you anyways. But for some reason, Chuck Bennis's didn't show up. I'm not sure why. This one is by Paula Petlani.
I look like a Pokemon.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
That's so adorable.
that's pretty funny. I was about to say it kind of. I was thinking it almost has like some kind of like Pablo Picasso type shit going on, and you're like,
Yeah.
I look like a. I even started with a P, and I thought, oh, he's gonna say Picasso, and you say Pokemon. That's pretty funny. That is hilarious. This is a pencil drawing by Christine Varadi.
Wow.
It's very nice.
Looks like the American flag in the background.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is there something like that behind you in the photo reference like this, or did maybe she just made that up?
Yeah, I think she added that. There was a tree in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah, trees do not look like that. Oops. Yeah, this is by Juan Gastelum,
Nice.
from Mexico. He always adds like a little alien in there somewhere, so it's very nice.
I look so relaxed.
This last one is by Mr. Ponce, and I'm trying to zoom in on it a little bit here so you can see it better. Looks like it's a color pencil drawing or something. Huh.
Like really relaxed.
You look a little stoned there.
Yeah.
And your
True to life.
ears are just gone. Like they were there.
Yeah, I think that's artistic. Like,
They
this
were
guy
there.
never listens.
Yeah. He's trying to tell you something there. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for submitting the artwork and everything. It was awesome. That was weird. And thank you, man, for hanging out and joining. It's fun to chat with you and talk about the comedy stuff. And I'm super excited for you, man. This is like, this has got to be like, can you even sleep at night? I mean, it's every comic's dream come true, man. You're doing it. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're so out of this world. I mean, luckily my life is pretty pedestrian outside of that, so it kind of keeps me humble. I mean, I live in a van, and then I open for Joe Rogan, so it's so crazy. Like all these people watching a guy that slept in a van that night and will again this night.
Just keep that reality though, man, because it's always going to be something that you're going to benefit from, I think so. Anyways, how do your parents handle this, all the comedy stuff? Are they supportive?
Yeah, they're just like, I was a pretty bad kid when I was young. They're just glad that I found something, that I'm doing something instead of like shoplifting and doing drugs, which I still do, but at least I have like a grander purpose than just shoplifting and doing drugs.
Yeah. It's like I was gonna say stealing jokes and you don't steal jokes.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And before we get going, is there anything you want to promote or let people know where they can find you and all that kind of stuff? Make sure to follow you on Instagram and that sort of a thing.
Yeah, I'm on DJ Hans Kim, Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel where I post all my videos, and I'm going to be in Abilene, Texas, and Sweetwater, Texas, headlining with my friend Riley and Christy, so that should be fun. Kill Tony every Monday, and hopefully I'll be a regular on there for a long time.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. And by the way, now that you're headlining, how much time do you do when you headline?
45 minutes.
45? That's awesome, man. That's so cool.
It's like about like a year's worth of Kill Tonys all together.
That's awesome. That's the cool thing too, man, is it's going to help you build material,
Yeah.
It's so cool. That's awesome, man. Well, like I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. It's really fun to be able to meet you and to talk to you, and I hope I can meet you someday in real life.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. And to everybody else, thank you so much for listening and checking this out. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.
You want answers? And the truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.